Solomon warned us never to trust a woman who does this, apart from the special honor we must give to the Word of God, which was written by divine inspiration. When experienced people speak about a matter, wisdom demands that we pay attention. Today, we want to study the kind of woman we should never trust. Although several scriptures warn us against ungodly women, we will give special consideration to the warnings of Solomon. At the end of this sermon, we will look at what a godly woman looks like. When it comes to experience with women, Solomon is a good teacher among all the kings who have ever lived. No one had the record of marrying up to 700 wives and 300 concubines. Solomon in total had marital connections with 1,000 women. At the end of his life, he wrote the famous verse of the scriptures that says, "Vanity upon vanity." Solomon sold himself to pleasure with women, but his actions only amounted to foolishness. When such a man speaks about the kind of woman we should never trust, we should listen attentively. Similarly, when he speaks about the kind of woman we should look for and trust, we should also listen attentively. In the book of Proverbs, King Solomon offers us his advice on the qualities we should look for in a wife. He tells us that a virtuous woman is worth far more than rubies, that she is hardworking and a good manager of her household. He also tells us that a good wife is trustworthy, loving, and kind, being a source of joy and blessing to her husband. In the book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon tells us that he had many wives and concubines, but he also admits that he made mistakes in his choices. He warns us not to be led astray by beauty or charm, but to seek a woman of good character, intelligence, and kindness. He advises us to look beyond outward appearances and to choose a woman who is loyal, trustworthy, and shares our values and beliefs. My dear brothers and sisters, King Solomon's advice is as relevant today as it was in his time. Choosing the right partner is one of the most important decisions we will make in our lives, and it is a decision that will affect us for years. Let's study the Proverbs of Solomon regarding the types of women we should never trust or allow into our lives. The dangers of the immoral woman are described in Proverbs 23:27 through 28, where the harlot is compared to a deep pit and the seductress to a narrow well. Both are dangerous and have the potential to lead to ruin. The harlot is compared to a place of danger and darkness, ready to ambush her victims, while the wayward wife is compared to a well that, although it may seem inviting, is a place of danger and death. Solomon clearly warns us that sexual immorality can lead us to destruction, ruining our relationships, families, and lives, and having consequences that affect not only us, but also those around us. A perfect example of the type of woman mentioned in Proverbs 23:27 through 28 is the wife of Potiphar. She is a character in the Bible, and her story serves as a warning about the dangers of sexual temptation and the consequences of yielding to it. The wife of Potiphar was attracted to Joseph and repeatedly tried to seduce him, but he refused her advances, saying it would be a wicked act and a sin against God. Joseph lived in Potiphar's house for 11 years, resisting temptation throughout that time. Despite Joseph's refusal, the wife of Potiphar continued to pursue him and one day tried to force herself on him. Joseph managed to escape, leaving his cloak in her hands, and she falsely accused him of attempting abuse. We can learn several lessons from both the wife of Potiphar and Joseph. The wrong people may accuse you and try to send you to your death, even if you are innocent. Unfortunately, we live in a world where not everyone is honest, and some may bear false witness. There are men and women exactly like the wife of Potiphar, willing to destroy your life simply because you did not yield to their will. The wife of Potiphar is a warning to all of us about the dangers of sexual temptation. She was a woman driven by her own lustful desires and willing to use her power and influence to satisfy them, with no regard for her husband, marriage, or human life. As Christians, we are called to live lives of purity and holiness, to avoid sexual immorality, and to honor God with our bodies. We must be alert to the temptations that come our way and resist them with all our might. And we must also be careful about the company we keep, as there are still people like the wife of Potiphar in the world. Joseph's resistance to temptation is a powerful example for all of us. It reminds us that, no matter how strong the temptation may be, we always have a choice. We can yield to our desires and indulge in sin, or we can resist temptation and honor God with our bodies and actions. The wife of Potiphar may have tried to seduce Joseph for 11 years, but he remained faithful, not succumbing to the lusts of youth. He refused the advances of his master's wife, remembering what he had to lose, and the truth that the temptation is not worth risking his marriage, innocence, or ability to serve the Lord. Now, having looked at the kind of woman a man should avoid, and the kind of woman a woman should refuse to be, let's see some examples of the woman the Bible recommends looking for and the type of woman women should strive to be. There are wonderful, God-fearing, honest, and kind women in the world, and if you are married to one, or if your child is one of them, you should cherish and love her. It is a lie straight from the depths of hell that there are no longer any wonderful women. They exist. The gracious woman, mentioned in Proverbs 11:16, retains honor, and strong men retain riches. A gracious woman is kind, polite, and courteous, being the type of woman that suits every Christian man for marriage. Although there is a high level of decadence in our society, God still preserves godly daughters for his sons. If we allow God to lead us, he will bring a gracious woman into our path. Proverbs 18:22 reminds us that a good wife is a favor every man should receive from the Lord. A gracious woman will not dishonor her husband, as Vashti did to King Xerxes. She is polite and supports her husband's vision, unlike Jezebel, who stirred Ahab to do evil before the Lord. In Proverbs 31:10-11, we find the virtuous woman, whose value is far above rubies. Her husband's heart safely trusts in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Being virtuous means having excellent moral character. The value of a virtuous woman is beyond gold and silver. She can gain the trust of her husband. This woman is a source of security and trust for her husband, and he can rely on her completely. She is of great worth, and her value is not measured by material possessions but by her character, actions, and love.